What's up, D learners? It's your girl, Lady D of DTalford Training Solutions. I'm here today to talk to you about something that has been on my mind, just how to educate children to succeed in the 2020s and beyond. So, just thinking about my parents' generation, they were kind of at the end of what's considered the silent generation. So maybe the late 1930s, early 1940s, beginning of baby boomers, kind of that whole 1950s and 60s era. Then after that kind of came where I'm on the border of the Generation X era. So Generation X came sometime in the 1960s and ended right around the time I was born in the early 1980s, which is when the millennials were born. So those millennials are parenting this generation that we have now, which is considered the generation Z, the I generation. And some of us are also parenting the next generation, which is so far being called kind of Generation Alpha. Generation Alpha still has yet to be born. We're kind of at the end of Generation Z, post millennials. So all three of my children would be considered probably that Generation Z, post millennials. They have not known a time without technology. They've had phones in their life since infancy. So this is the generation that we are need to educate to be able to continue on and function in society and be able to help our society run in these times to come. So as 2020 is approaching and we are going to be putting Generation Z out into the workforce in the 2020s, we need to make sure that we are setting them up to succeed in the 2020s and that we are not using an education system that was made for the baby boomers or even Generation X. Even as millennials, we are creating jobs every single day. Just a couple years ago, if you were to tell somebody that your job was to influence people on YouTube, they would have thought that you were crazy. And now that's a lucrative market. That is a job that is very well sought after. So we want to prepare our children in the best way. So I've been writing these thoughts down for a while, and I have a lot of them, but I definitely think that these are the things that are going to help Generation Z just be ready for the workforce, ready to start a career, and ready to move our society forward. So money and finances, giving money, how to give money, who to give money to. There are so many GoFundMe and different types of just places where you can give to and donate to, but you do not know all of these people are legitimate and that all of these people are the right people that you want to give money to. So they need to understand who should you give money to. You know, my history, my parents have always given money to the church. We have trusted that the church is going to do right with our funds. But today there are so many ways to give back and give to other people. Kids need to understand finances. Who do I give money to? Making money. There are multiple streams of income. There are multiple ways to make money nowadays. So they need to understand that they need to find ways to make money. And also, once they make it, how do you save it? What's a stock, a bond, a mutual fund? How do you invest? Who do you trust with your investments? How do you know which investments to pick? Spending money. They need to understand a little bit about frugality and what do I spend money on? A lot of people who are kind of at the end of Generation X, beginning of millennials, you know, our American dream was to have this big house, big, nice, fancy cars. But as you look at the tail end of millennials, they're starting and just a lot of these older Generation Zers who are about 24 now, they're minimalists a lot of times. They're talking about living in vans, living in tiny homes. So they are not spending money the way their parents or older siblings are. So definitely understanding just basic budgeting and just how you disperse your earnings. Mortgage, home buying. Do you even want to buy a home? I mean, it is a big trend right now not to even live in a house, but to live in your car, a van, some kind of mobile situation. I've had friends that have lived, just rented apartments for a short period of time in different areas because their job is very mobile. So just understanding that situation. So also choosing a career. Now, for maybe like the baby boomers and the older generation X, they had to choose a career based on what was going to make them the most money so that they can take care of themselves and their family. A lot of people now, they're choosing careers based on their passion. But you have to know, do I want to create my own career or do I want to work for someone else? If I do, how do I fill out an application, write a resume? Just the basics of interviewing, like one-on-one conversation. If someone is on their phone most of the time, they may not know how to have a conversation, a face-to-face conversation with somebody. And a lot of times interviews are a panel. Can they handle being under pressure? Then working for someone else. Understanding that if you work for someone else, you are under the rules and regulations of that company, that organization, the morals and the ethics of that organization. Understanding that it's not all about you, that it's about the company and the benefit of the company. Then understanding entrepreneurship, trade skills, apprenticeship, supervising and management, how to be a supervisor. Just because you're great at your job does not mean that you know how to supervise other people and make sure that the work gets done and that the work gets dispersed equally. Interacting with customers or consumers, how to talk to people, how to deal with someone that has a grievance, just the basic service essentials of any job or career. Interacting with your coworkers, how to get along in the workplace, even if I don't like you, even if you're not my best friend. How do we make sure that the work gets done and that we are not just going through petty drama all the time? Basic communication skills, how to come up and ask somebody for resources and not just sit and pretend that you know everything and that you and not tell somebody your flaws. Being able to self-reflect on the things you did well and the things you could have did better without feeling like someone is that you are just throwing yourself under the bus. Being able to take feedback without becoming upset or becoming just having self-doubt. Vacation and taking breaks, taking time to be off and spend with your family. What are some other things under politics and law? Well, just basic human rights, understanding your right as a human, understanding your body and just what people can and cannot make you do, or what is a violation of your rights as a human being, as a person, as yourself. Just basic politics like elections, policy change, having a voting party or affiliation, what's going on with current events, history that affects it. Simple things like, why would I need something like an affidavit, a notary? What do I do if I get a traffic violation? For some people, a traffic violation means nothing. For other things, yeah, you need to get a lawyer to handle this situation, because points on your license might cause you problems with your job. Basic health. So self-awareness. How does your body feel? A lot of people have issues with weight loss because they overeat. Why? Because someone has always taught them to clean their plate and they never learned to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, quit overindulging. And if you simply understand your body, and when your body doesn't feel good and something doesn't make you feel good, then you're listening to yourself and then you can have better health outcomes. Just medical professionals and who to consult. I remember when something was wrong with my son's eye and I took him to the emergency room, and they did not give him a prescription that was the right prescription for what was wrong with his eye. Instead of continuing to go back to the emergency room or going to our regular pediatrician, I went straight to an ophthalmologist and said, he's having a problem with his eye. I'm going to pick the specialist for his eye. When I was having issues with my foot, I went straight to the podiatrist and had the foot and ankle specialist look at my foot and tell me what was wrong. Yes, sometimes we have to go through insurance, and sometimes we have to be willing to eat the cost of that. But we need to start teaching kids, you know what? There's a specialist in this thing for a reason. Just basic CPR and first aid skills. Anybody should know how to help somebody if they stop breathing. These things are just basic and common knowledge. Understanding what to do for the common cold, the common flu, understanding abuse. What is being abused? What is mental abuse? What is physical abuse? And just understanding what they can do and what options there are for abuse. Mental health disorders. These are big. Just anything that has to do with your brain health, your academic health, just autism, ADHD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, intermittent personality disorder, narcissism. People need to understand these basic and common disorders that they may encounter every day and how to deal with people with those disorders, especially people that may be in their family, or where to go if they are suspecting this in a family member or their own children. Just common diseases, things like diabetes, just understanding what to do for diabetes, heart disease, what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating, just basic nutrition. What's a carbohydrate, fat, and a protein, and how do they work together? Just basic medication, understanding over-the-counter medication, how to use it, when it's safe, when it's not safe, and how to use it appropriately, and what medication is for, and understanding drug use and drug abuse, and that drugs are not just things that someone is selling out on the street corner, but also there are things that are in your own household, that even the chemicals in your household can affect you and can cause problems. Understanding things like consent, personal hygiene, and how to just take a break and rest. These are just some of the health and wellness things that we need to teach children. A few other things are caregiving, how to take care of another person, your elder, your children, just basic parenting skills, how you care for someone other than yourself, some kind of foreign language. Every other country except for America prioritizes learning some other language other than the primary language spoken in that country. It doesn't matter which language. It's not to say that any one language is of a higher priority than others, but we should be learning some foreign language fluently so that we can speak to someone other than just people that are from this country. 100% social media. Very, very important for these next generation to understand. What is branding? Now, people are starting to give their child their own brand at birth. They are giving them cute little names to go along with who their child is. We are back to double naming children like Emma Jane and Tiffany Lee. And I mean, I've even have children, Preston Dakota, Trenton Demario, and Quentin DeAndre. They all have their own brand. They all are who they are. They have their nicknames. Quentin DeAndre is the hammer, Trenton Demario is the sniper, and Preston Dakota is the bumblebee. And that's based on the sports and athletics that they do. That is very common for these Generation Zers and the upcoming Generation Alpha. Your child, they're going to have a brand. They're going to have a social media presence, and they have to know how to Be on social media. What is an influencer? Who are these influencers, and how do they know which influencers to trust and not to trust? Influencer marketing, how they're marketing things to them so that they will follow them and do things, and how they have a responsibility if they become influential social media marketers. Posting content, videos, pictures, and thoughts, how these videos, pictures, thoughts, they're gonna follow them for the rest of the time, their life, most likely, as long as the internet exists. So they have to know what they post and how important it is that they only post content that is representative of them, because their views and thoughts could change, but that content can follow them for the rest of their life. Judging authenticity of people, of websites, understanding scams and scammers and how people can take your money, just managing their own accounts and understanding that people hack and get into accounts. Now, this is not to discount the core subjects, but as a homeschool parent, I feel like you can teach the core subjects through life skills. What are those core subjects? And those are our language arts, just basic reading, how to read something, how to basically write something, a sentence, a letter, a paragraph, a speech, being able to write down your thoughts and speak them out. Basic math. As long as you know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you can learn everything else there is in math. But just basic math skills, understanding what science is and what technology is, social studies and some history, and just being able to, like I said, communicate and public speak. So as I move into 2020, as I am developing trainings for teachers, as I am developing homeschool content for my children, as I am educating the future leaders of our society, I am going to focus on the things that I've talked about today in helping the rest of Generation Z and our next generation Alpha succeed out here in the workforce and out here in life. Just remember to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. You are the most important person in a child's life, and it's up to you to help them reach their potential.